to the No Nonsense live stream. I believe we're going. I'll give it a minute. Sometimes Facebook doesn't like the things I say because it has to fact check everything. Got it. Thank you. All right. How we doing, guys? All right. Looks like I got the notification that tells me that I'm live on my own thing. Thank you for that. Thank you, Facebook. What's up, everybody? Welcome. It's been a while since I've done a live stream, and the last time you saw me, I was expecting to be a dad. Now I'm a dad. Welcome to Fatherhood. That's the title of this stream because I thought, let's talk about some of the wonderful things in this world rather than the despair. We all know the problem. So I like to talk about solutions on this stream. That's why I've always entitled this the No Nonsense live stream, meaning no nonsense. No shit. Good things. Uplifting things. Positive things. As of 3 weeks ago, I became a father. Baby and mom are doing great. Everybody's healthy, and it was a hell of an experience. And I like to share that with you because I was once in a mindset that I didn't want children at one point because of some weird poisoning whispers I had heard over the years. Like I thought I had to have all these things first, then have a family. And there's truth in that. However, it was really more like an underlying fear for myself to the point where I was like, I hate kids. I don't want kids. And it wasn't that I hated children. I always wanted a family. It's just, like most people, I didn't like other people's kids. I was like, that one looks like they're going to have some problems. Wait till they become a teenager. But for me, I can honestly say now that my son's here is a wonderful thing. So 3 weeks ago, my lady's water broke in the middle of the night. 3 weeks early. He was actually supposed to be due today. Tomorrow, sorry. And so we went to the hospital. That's not supposed to happen, right? Most of the time, with my birthing knowledge, you're supposed to get contractions, then your water breaks, and proceeding forward. However, the water broke first, so we had to go. Risk of infection, all that stuff. It was a lengthy time in the hospital. We did first midwives at Rush Copley because we were trying to go as natural as possible, which you can do. People were birthed at home. It was fine. The hospital is great. In case something happens, it's right there. I understand. I'm not here to knock the hospital just yet, but we'll get to that. So it was about 3:45 in the morning. My lady's water broke, and then she comes in. She's like, "Babe, I think my water broke." And it's funny because my work closed down because of the snowstorm we had the previous day. Roads are bad. They're just like, "Hey, we're closing. We can't. Nobody's working tomorrow." So I was like, "Oh yay, I got an extra day off." Great. It worked out wonderful. I didn't have to go to work because I ended up going to the hospital to start the process of letting my son come into the world. So we're at the hospital, and my lady's a champ. She took about 12 straight hours of labor, natural before anything. Didn't do that Pitocin stuff. Not good for you, ladies, if you're ever thinking about that. I know hospitals like to push that stuff. Don't. It's not good. Eventually, she did opt for an epidural, but she got through 12, 13, 14, 15 hours of labor before she gave in. And then, once the epidural came, my son, they thought like, oh, well, 1 centimeter, looks like we'll be here till the next day. And then it's 9 o'clock at night, and they check her one more time. And we went from 3 centimeters to 9.5, like that. They're like, oh, crap. Well, this baby's going to be here before midnight. It's like, whoa, so fast. It was so surreal. From having a nurse to a doctor in the room, next thing you know, I've got a dozen people in the room, and it's happening. So at 10:32 p.m. on February 16th, my son, John Ryder Jagodzinski, was born. And it was wonderful. I got to help in the delivery. I caught him. And when I say I caught him, I literally caught him. There wasn't a whole lot of pushing, and what happened was it's like a just a pop. He came out like it wasn't. He didn't just ease out of there. I mean, he shot out like a cannon, and it was beautiful. I caught him real quick, and I did the whole umbilical cord cut, and they whisked him over to the other side of the room, and I'm standing there as the NICU doctors checking him out with the nurses, making sure he's breathing okay and all that, getting the oxygen levels up. I'm also keeping my eyes on these doctors because I don't trust them, and I'm not letting my baby out of their sight, especially with what's going on the last year. So I'm there on one side of the room with my newborn son, John. Beautiful. And then I look over my shoulder, and on the other side of the room, there's my lady finishing up the birthing process, which looked like a horror show, but was also beautiful at the same time. It was wonderful. But it was so surreal, so quick, so euphoric that I was so high from it. Like you know, I've done a few drugs in my life, but I never felt that euphoric feeling that can only be felt by doing that. So the reason I'm doing this is to let people know, like, if you're ever hesitant about having children, don't. It's a wonderful experience, and if you think you're going to be a bad parent, then really look at yourself and go, what is it that I need to improve that I don't like about me? And then do it, and then have a family, because it's wonderful. And when you get 80, I don't know if your friends are going to be there for you when you're that old. You know what I'm saying? So your children will be. Your children will be there for you, and that's wonderful. So it was great. And I had one little hiccup in the. So he couldn't get. My son John had some sugar. They had to get his sugar levels up. That was our one issue, where he eventually did have to go to the NICU. The oxygen was fine at first, but then what happened is, I guess the sugar levels weren't at a proper level, allegedly. So they had to prick his heel, check his levels like every hour. They were giving him this glucose gel to try to boost it up, and it helped a little bit, but then it would go below a certain point, which they were very unclear of what that point was at certain times. That's fine. However, we had to make a decision that his levels, after a certain period of time, being newborn, he needed to get there. And the doctor had suggested an IV of sugar, right, to kind of stabilize it. And he was really pushing this IV. Like, he made it seem like if we didn't decide to do that, like, our son was going to grow up and or going to have brain issues and all this stuff. So it was really late. It was like 4 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, the following day, after he'd been born, and we agreed to it. We said, all right, we're both really tired, irritable. Kate's been up. She just gave birth. I'm up, for 24 straight hours. I'm tired, but I'm also full of adrenaline. And so we say yes. And one of the first things a father is supposed to do, in my opinion, but it's not really an opinion as much as it's what you're supposed to do as a man. You're supposed to make decisions that protect you, your family, right? You're supposed to be the guy who takes the bullets, right? It shouldn't be your wife, right? It shouldn't be the women out front. No, it's the men. That's our job. So you also make the decisions based on your baby, right? And it's hard because you hear information, right? So I understand when people hear what's best, what's the next step, what do we have to do, what's the procedure, what do we got to do to make things okay. And you hear these suggestions from the doctors, from the nurses, all this stuff, and you have to make the decision, because everything in this world, everything is an offer. You have to consent. This is what we offer. Do you want to do it or not? Yes or no? And then that's it. And then if it's yes, then it's on you. You decided. You decided. You did this now. And then it's on you. And then if you decided not to do it, it's also on you. Again, this is where real life decisions come into play. So for everybody's different. So for us, what I'm saying is we had to make that decision to put him on an IV, which, if you know anything about IVs for babies, they have tiny little, they're so itty bitty. He was 5.5, he's 5 pounds, 5 ounces when he was born. So he was tiny. Hour and a half from 37 weeks. So technically they treated him as premature. Even though if he had waited to come after midnight, they wouldn't have. So technical things on paper, right? So we made the decision to go to the NICU and start this IV. They pushed my son out into the hall. The doctor, these two nurses. And as soon as I walked out, right behind him, because I'm not leaving my son, I started to sweat. I got really nauseous. I was lightheaded. Something was telling me this is a really bad decision. Because, I'm faced with my first hard decision for my son, right? And it didn't feel right. And my instincts, because I trust my instincts today, told me that made me physically sick about what I was about to do wasn't good. And as we're walking down the hall, I told the doctor this. I'm like, I really don't have a good feeling about this. Because I'm not afraid to say what I'm feeling because I'm not a pussy. I'll tell him, like, I don't think this is a good idea. Because doctors are people too, guys. They do stuff, on paper. They're not they're not know-it-alls. They're wonderful. Wonderful. Don't get me wrong. I'm shitting on them sometimes, but I know they do wonderful things. When something's broken, doctors are great to fix it. I get it. However, not every baby that comes out needed this procedure. So we go down there. They try to, they start looking for a vein. They got this little light out. They're trying to find a vein for an IV, and they're sticking them, right? They're sticking my son. He's screaming for 15, 20 minutes straight. I'm just wailing. And, this is your son. So imagine, you come out of the womb, and the first thing you feel is physical trauma. That's why we didn't circumcise. I don't care what you think. You don't need to. And if your only argument is it looks weird later in life when you're about to have sex, really evaluate your life, folks. Okay? It's a weird ritual that doesn't need to be done. We thought we were saving his life, and then, a couple hours into birth, they're jabbing him with needles, right? He's stabbing his freaking hand. It was all blue, and I'm no doctor myself, but when you're that young, it's a lot, and they could feel it. I don't care what you say. I believe they could feel that stuff, and it'll manifest at some point in life. Anyway. So after 20 minutes, I finally just stood up to the doctor and I was like, yeah, that's enough. I said some other things that I know weren't exactly nice that Kate had to look at me and be like, whoa, chill out. But in hindsight, she was like, thank you, because that made me want to give you another baby. And I was like, I know. That's why you gave me this baby, because I say things like that. And I don't just say stuff. I do it. It's a lot of people are a lot of talkers. You know what I've noticed in my life? I've only been alive for 36 years. A lot of talkers. But when shit hits the fan, they bolt. They don't stand their ground. They just drop their weapons and surrender. It was too much for me. I'm like, God. Anyway. So what we ended up doing to get his sugar levels up was splicing some formula with Kate's breast milk, and it ended up working out. It took us about a day. We finally got it going, and then we had to stabilize it for a while before they would let us leave. Then he still had to get his bilirubin levels were a little off, a little jaundice, which is normal. And luckily, Kate's pumping breast milk like a freaking champ, and she flushed that all out. So after a few days after he was born, we got to a normal level of that. His yellow went away. He's up over 6 pounds now. He's full. He's wonderful. He's eating, peeing, and pooping as he should. He's not very fussy unless he's naked. As a result, too, of breast milk, women, ladies, don't give your kids poison, which is formula. I know it's like a normal thing, because we grew up around it. What kind of formula? You know what formula is best? And even one of the nurses in the NICU said it. Mother's milk for that child is tailor-made for their bodies. Trust it. It works really well. It's doing wonders for my son. He's 3 weeks old. He looks great. Healthy. Good lungs, good heart, great. And I'm blessed for that. I really am. My point of, these doctors sometimes, they do their job, but however, you are their client, okay? They need to listen to what you say, and you can advocate for yourself, and there's a lot of information. I'm really, really, really glad we hired doulas. At first, I was hesitant because one of my worst downfalls in life is I have contempt prior to investigation, meaning I shoot everything down. I know. how even if it's beneficial, it's my thing that I have to deal with. And Kate's idea was that, and she wanted to do natural, and I'm thinking I want to do natural, but then I have an old residue of how I was brought up in this world, and this is the way you should do stuff. And I'm like, no, that isn't the best way. There are other ways that were fine before all this nonsense. So you got to weed away through all this poison stuff in your head, right? The doulas were great. I highly recommend them. If you want to know who those doulas are and you're about to have a baby and you're thinking about it, let me know in the comments. I will send you their information. They're based in Illinois. Worth every penny. Okay, they'll help your wife or your significant other spouse with all kinds of stuff. The breastfeeding, there'll be their consultations, information, things you can say yes or no to, and then walk you through some of those fears that you have if you're a first time mom or even a repeat mom. It's still, I believe, wonderful. I say it's okay. And I believe women, especially that when it comes to babies, it's their thing, what they are born for. Like, that's it. Natural, beautiful stuff. I was so scared to be a dad because what I realized was I was scared that my kid one day is going to grow up and tell me to go fuck myself. And that was keeping me from having children. And then I thought, I'm like, oh, I have to have a ton of money first before I have a child because he can't have a life that a good life. I'm like, dude, one thing I've realized, guys, if you live in America, you live like a king. I live like a king. We all live like kings. Even if you don't have a lot of money, you live like a fucking king. You go to the grocery store, get a pineapple, get a kiwi. You live like a king. This idea that you have a bunch of stuff to impress who? Nobody cares. Everything's cheap now anyway. It's all made in China. It's all shit. Unless you have some Amish wood furniture in your house, everything you have, we all have the same stuff, guys. The same IKEA, the same Walmart, the same Target. We have options, but we don't. It's all the same shit, okay? Nothing's significantly awesome. It's like Lexus, Toyota, same thing, just a little bit more expensive. So stop. You don't need that. Stop trying to impress people with shit. Nobody cares, okay? And even if you have stuff and you're like, oh, look at my stuff, people are like, must be nice. Bears. So I thought I had to have all that. And then when I finally let go and I just said, I am not afraid. And then here we are. And opportunities have been presenting themselves in my life that I never had 5, 10 years ago because my way of thinking about things was really fucking skewed. And my attitude kept me from things. I had the will and the ambition, but how I looked at everything was hindering me. And that needed an adjustment. So I'm grateful now because today I have a strong, beautiful woman. I'm in a great relationship. I have a wonderful son. He's healthy. He's doing great. Kids are great. Oh, yeah. You have to, there's two kinds of people, encouragers and discouragers. Encouragement. There's people who have kids but are so discouraging by it, right? They say all this crap to get in your head, like, oh, you're never going to sleep. Oh, you're not going to have a night of sleep now. Look at that. Oh, there goes your time. What time? What is it that I'm doing that is so time consuming? Do you understand that with or without my son, when I don't have projects, you know what I do? Nothing. Like, I have a lot of ideas of what I want to do. I just don't have the space for it right now because I have a lot of ideas. And the thing is, if I have a willingness, I'll make it happen. What would you be doing, right? What would you be doing? Encouraging people and discouraging people. Discouraging, or like I said, you're not going to sleep. Oh, there goes all the time for yourself. That's some weird bullshit that we were told growing up here and there that it's such a bad thing. You become outside yourself once you have a child. And I'm telling you, the way out of your problems is to be of service to other people, whether that is your children, a neighbor, complete stranger, anybody. Be of service to others. Be useful to other people, and you will not be concerned about you. And it will flow, and it will make your life that much better. Good things have come from it. Nothing but good things. In my experience, in my life, because I stopped being so selfish. I'm still selfish, right? Doing this now because I want to do it. But there's a lot of other things that I decided to do differently in life, and it got me to this point. So I'm grateful for that. Gratitude is one of the biggest things. Encouraging things, or why I'm doing this stream, to encourage people who are on the fence. Be like, oh man, why would you bring a kid into this world? You're full of poison, and that's nonsense. The world's always been this way. There's nothing new under the sun. You're just afraid. That's what it is. You have to get over that fear. Go to the bottom. What is the fear? Why are you so afraid? Oh, well, I'm afraid I don't have money. Oh, I'm afraid I'm going to be an asshole. I'm afraid of this, that, and the other. Great. Work it out with somebody who's been down there before. Listen to them. Listen to the people with successful families and the struggles that they had, and talk to those people and find out how they got through it. That'll help you. It'll take some of that fear away. Also, it's a fucking wonderful thing. If anything, your child, you'll be of service to your child. But you don't make the child head of the household. That's where you go wrong. People have gone wrong in America. We pedestal children. No. You're the king of your house. Your wife is the queen. The child is your prince or princess. Maybe not princess. Too much female empowerment there. Little less. In your own home, you're the ruler. I will be a father. I always wanted my dad to be my buddy, right? When I was younger, I wanted him to be my buddy, and he really was. My dad did everything with me, and somewhere as a kid, he was great. But when I hit adolescence, I thought he wasn't. Like, I wanted more out of him, and he was. My dad was an enforcer of the rules. But that's what made me love and respect him, is because he wasn't a fucking Nancy. He didn't push over. Like, if I went, oh, and I tried, he still was like, no. And say what you want. Say that's not right. No, it's what you do for the long run of life. If you're only looking at life from a short-term comfort soothing place, dude, you're going to be disappointed. You're going to be miserable. You have to give your children tools to navigate this world, so in the long run, they understand what it takes to be here. Okay? My dad was a father. He wasn't my buddy. Now today, as I'm a grown man and my dad's older, we can be buddies. We can have conversations and hang out. I've had, some of the best times with my dad these last few years, you know? As a grown adult, you get it when you get older. As a kid, you hate them, you get angry. I'm sure my son will probably hate me at some point. Maybe not hate me, but he'll be angry at me. That's maybe not. I don't know. I'm not going to do the same exact things as my father did. But I'm also not going to be too soft. These are the things you have to understand. Like, fathers are important. Strong dads, not the dads are like, do whatever you want. I'm your friend. I put on the wig too to be. No. Strong. Whether you have sons, great. My son will grow up to be an honest, good man, just like his father. And he'll make his own mistakes and problems in life, and that'll be great. And he'll learn. It's his journey to learn. But if I do my job properly, he'll understand what it was I was trying to teach him in those early years. And it's going to be great. And I'm excited, and I can't wait to get there. But it's one day at a time. He's only 3 weeks old. Right now, we just have to feed him. He goes to sleep, and that's all. But it's important to have a father be a father, the enforcer, the disciplinary. Like, okay, what dad says goes. And we lost that somewhere. Because it was, I think, a little bit too overbearing at some point in life. Now we put a little too much feminine on there, where it's like, well, feelings. I get it. You don't want to be overly barbaric, but you don't want to be too, like, everybody gets the trophy. You don't want that, because we see that generation now. Here, look where we're at. Look where we're at today. Look where we're at today. Don't need that. We need a little less. Balance it out. And there's still some strong men out there, thank God. You just don't hear about them. They get chastised. If somebody's chastising a guy for what he says or how he stands up to something, he's a good man. Like right there, you can tell. Like if somebody's talking shit about him in a way like, I don't like what Matt said about he's being mean. You should probably respect that man. And respect is far more valuable than likes, guys. I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna learn, but I'm not thinking about the future as much as I'm just enjoying the now. Like today, extra day off from work, and I decided to do this. Already fed my son. It was great, and where we go from here is limitless. This idea like that you have to attain something outside yourself. No, you already have everything. There's nothing to obtain. You existing is it. Do things, enjoy it, challenge yourself. And if you're a man, challenge yourself. Do something you wouldn't normally do that you are hesitant about and just work it out. Work it out. I there's so many things that I'm like I say I want to do, but it's like, dude, I just a little bit here, a little bit there, right? Like I'm gonna grow the garden this year. Even I'm gonna expand it from last year. Little steps. Little steps build you up. The problem is everybody wants to be at the fucking top. Everybody wants to be at the top right now. And if I'm not at the top right now, damn it. I hate everybody. I'm resentful. I envy that guy who's got it, this guy. And if you talk to anybody who has a real calm, collected demeanor, or they just seem to have it together, you'll notice the similarity is they gradually got that way. They didn't just land on top and their life was great. They got that way. You have to gradually get that way. Little steps at a time. And eventually you're going to hit to that point and maybe you surpass it at one day in your life and you don't even realize, or maybe you don't even realize you hit it and you're like, oh, wasn't even all that was cracked up to be anyway. No, it's not. But it doesn't mean that the journeys of things and how you get there doesn't. That's fun. That's wonderful. That's all worth it. You know, it's worth it. Having children is worth it. Take it from me, a guy who, when I was young, I always wanted a family. I always did. But I thought I had to have all these things first. I had a lot of stuff backwards, right? And I had a lot of things to take care of myself. Now I understand how the world works, and it's great to know that because it helps me get through stuff, right? It helps me be the best version of myself today. Be of service to other people. If you can help another person, I'm going to say this one thing. After John was born, we had overwhelming like outpour of support and people wanting to help us. It was mind-boggling because I can have these ideas sometimes that nobody gives a shit, or I get a little a little like, how come nobody's, what the hell? I've got that in me. We all do, right? We grew up in America. There's bits of envy, and careful with envy. It's very dangerous. But when John was born, man, we got so much support. We both did. Kate and I, and friends bringing food. Thank you. There was this Kate's brother set up this meal train thing where people could come bring us meals, which was really helpful actually because that first week there was no time to cook. The first week was just trying not to kill each other. Because Kate and I, it's like, like, it was great how it oscillated between the two things where it's like, I want to throw you through the fucking wall, but then at the same time, it was so joyful and wonderful. Can you believe it? Like, we would go between all those feelings, and it's good. It's good to have conflict. People are like, no, you can't. It's unrealistic to think you can be in a world where there's no conflict. I used to think so. I used to be like, oh, we all just get along. Why can't we all just, if everybody just did these things? No, it's not in our nature, guys. There's always going to be an asshole, right? There's always going to be everything. They're just always there. But if you're aware that you don't want to be these things, great, don't. You do things that make you not that way. And you slowly just go, "Oh, I need that asshole too." Because how would I know this is wonderful if I didn't have that, right? Light without dark, good without evil. They coexist. They need each other. So have children, have a family, get married. It's totally worth it because I believe the bond you have with your family ultimately can get you through anything rather than this level one surfacey relationships that you can meet new people all day long. There's billions of people, right? You no problem finding people that have similar problems, and you can rehash out your old trauma history and be like, oh, this one time this happened to me, and you'll keep finding people. You can tell them that you'll get a lot of sympathy and a lot of empathy. Then eventually they realize, like, okay, are we going to move past that? Are we going to grow from that? Or are you just going to keep talking about something that happened 10, 20 years ago, right? And I understand sick mentality. I do. So if you're always going to bitch about the problem and then here's a bunch of solutions and you don't ever gravitate towards the solutions and you just want the problem, your life will always be on a very shallow level. You'll be like right above the water, just bobbing away. And I believe you have to go into the water and go as deep as you can. See how far it goes for you. Roots with people are great. I've seen friends of mine I've known for 30 years of my life, and we've gone through stages of life: childhood, early, young adulthood, marriages, children, families. We are here now, right? This is wonderful stuff. You never. I don't. I'm glad I'm not 18-year-old me. But my core principles of life were like always the same. I was always an honest guy, right? I hated people who deceived others, manipulated others, liars. I hated that shit. Even though as my years went on, I started to be like, I got into it that, if you can't beat them, join them. Ah, fuck it. It seems like everybody's this way. I might as well be this way too, which is wrong. But I had to go through that. I had to go through my pain to get to where I'm at today, to have an understanding of what it is. And you do too. Everybody does. One level over another. I don't discount pain. I get it. I understand. And have some children. It's great. If I get too far in the future, be like, how's it going to, that thinking of the what ifs, what ifs are terrible. If I how am I going to be a dad? That's where you lose yourself. You psych yourself out. Don't. Just show up. Just show up. Be there for your family. Be there for your children, and they'll be fine. Tell them to be honest. Don't lie. Be good to other people. Kindness, respect. These things are good. You're gonna have an asshole. My son's generation will grow up. A bunch of people having babies right now, right? They're gonna grow up, and in that generation, there's gonna be an asshole, right? There's gonna be that guy that people go like, "Oh, don't listen to Todd. Look, Todd fucked up his life." Fine. And then there's gonna be people like my son, John. Like, John's a good man. I don't know. There's everything. But if you give into the poison of this world, that hidden agenda, like, don't have kids, empower yourself, women, abort that child, so you can just do your nails and drink wine on the weekends. That's really all it is. Some goofy nonsense, and the men too, because the men, there are good men, but a lot of men gave up because they were just thinking with their penises. And then once things got crazy with the woman, instead of leading the woman out of the fire, they're like, I've had enough. Thank you, crazy lady. So, which means they failed at leading the woman out of the fire. You take on that responsibility. They understand, like, you have to lead the woman out of the fire. Now you are the leader. No, that's not how it works. I know people that have a better. I'm not saying just get married. Okay, there's some people out there who are like, if you're single and you're happy, great. Great. You can be a single guy and be a crusher, right? You can do all these things that and be of service to other people and be wonderful without having a marriage or kids. But do that. Don't be a single guy and be a piece of shit, you know? If you're going to be single and not have a woman, be a great man. And women, I don't know. I can't speak for you. Personally, I don't think it's good to be single and alone. But if you're honest with yourself, and you know why you're there and what you want, great. But if you lie to yourself, like if you really wanted a family and you just never did it, see, that's lying to yourself. But if you were honest and you're like, no, I really 100% I didn't want a family, great, that's good. Always be honest with yourself, men and women alike. Always. I always wanted a family. At some point I was like, yeah, I hate kids. I still don't like other people's kids. But because they're not my, I'm better today. To be honest, now that I have a kid, I'm like, who wants to hang out? Oh, he's only 3 weeks. We can't do that yet. But, if you're single and you're a man, my suggestion to you is do some good shit. And if you're hoarding those sources to get money and status, or like you want to get your business going, I personally think like that's a waste. But whatever. What do I know? I don't. I'm just speaking from my experience in my life and where I'm at today, and I'm very grateful for where I'm at today. And new opportunities are knocking on the door every day, and I like it. And I don't sit there and go, I'm telling you right now, gratitude is the biggest thing. And not like, oh, well, I'm grateful that I have. No, I'm talking about practicing it constantly to the point where you go, all of this can go away at any moment, and I'm okay with that. But I'm grateful it's here right now. I'm grateful for all this. I really am. I had to practice that for years. But just for today, just say, hey, today I'm grateful that I am working, or I'm alive, or the sun came up. And it sounds cheesy, but as a man who's been on both sides of an attitude spectrum, this is the better place to be than the despair merchants out there who are like, must be nice. Must be nice. Must be nice that you got a job opportunity. It must be nice that all your problems went away. No, my problem. Responsibility is where the solutions for problems are. When you have no responsibility, you suffer. And you're going to suffer with responsibility, but it's suffering worth having. Fatherhood, to me, is suffering worth having. Marriage is suffering worth having. Because if you choose to be single, that's just a different form of suffering. You choose to have all, whatever comes with the single life. However, you sacrifice the opportunity to see what your life would have been like with a family and those different levels. And same with me. I chose family over. I know I could go out and do, if I didn't have my lady or new son, I know I'd be out doing stuff with tons of people and networking and crazy stuff because that's just what's in my nature. I'm that guy. However, my energy is devoted over here now, so I'm readjusting. But it's a sacrifice I make, and a sacrifice I was willing to make because it's what I wanted. So if it's something you really wanted, then it's fine. But if you're sitting there going, I wish I had that, and you're envious, address your envy, and then do something about it. Don't be envious of anybody, regardless. Single, families, rich, poor. Never envy anybody. It's a bad thing that poisons your fucking mind because it keeps you from doing anything about it. I promise you that. Don't envy. I used to envy people in my life all the time, and then as we've aged and we've all gone through different periods, we're all just trying to figure it out, man. Some people aren't as great as you once thought, and you talk to them, and they're like, Jesus, I was going to kill myself. And you're like, what? we almost got divorced. I'm like, I thought you guys were a happy couple. It's like you never know what's going on in a person's life. So treat people with kindness. Always be that, this is basic shit that our grandparents, our parents taught us. Fundamentals of life. So don't take yourself too seriously. I suggest having a family. So far, I think you just wait until they start walking. Don't discourage people. I know it's going to be a challenge. I know. I didn't have kids to say, oh, I've got kids now. Here's the glory of it. I had kids because that's what life is to me, family, and I want that. And when I get old, they'll be there to take care of me. The cycle of life continues, guys. Don't discourage people. Oh, when it hit two, the terrible twos. Whatever. You don't know that. Oh, from my experience, I go, were you feeding them sugar and formula all the time? Maybe that's what their behavior was like. Maybe if you'd been a little bit more natural, you wouldn't have seen such erratic behavior. Hey, I'm not one to tell you the parent. I'm just telling you the road I'm going on and what I've witnessed for the first 36 years of my life and how kids turned out, including myself. And I'm telling you, a little bit more healthier eating habits, a lot of those behaviors wouldn't be happening. And hey, there's no science behind it. Yeah. I'm joking, but I'm not. I'm being serious. Like, just don't discourage people. If you didn't want to have kids, I think some people signed up for it and they didn't realize what the choice you made. You chose to have life come out of this world. You are responsible, and that's okay. However, it doesn't have to be the psychological damnation of a burden. It's not a burden. Children are not burdens, they are gifts. How you look at things and your thoughts is how you make this world. So, again, don't take yourself too seriously. I really have to pee, so I'm going to end this stream. Thank you, and it's wonderful to share with you guys the experience of becoming a father. I'm very excited to see where it goes. And my son was born into two great families. He'll be okay. And no family's perfect, right? We've all gone through some hell. And that's okay. That's what we do. There's no ideal way to live in this world that I've found really works unless you have those struggles to make you bond and be closer, It's like my friends of 30 years, I love them to death because of what we've gone through over the years, what they've gone through. They're different people than when we were younger, and I'm glad they are. They're the same, but they're different in a good way. And I like seeing where it goes another 10, 20 years. I'm ready. I'm ready.